Today we are going to look at doing some focus stacking. I went out to the backyard today and took some photos. We had some dew on the grass. It was actually my sprinkler, but don't tell anybody. So we took about 5 or 6 images. Let's go through them. 1, 2, loading, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So as we go through these, you can kind of see we're focused on the front grass, then we move away, then we go a little farther, a little farther, a little farther, a little farther, a little farther. Now, how do we do that? Well, we set the camera on manual focus, and we start out focusing on the front part of our object. So this can be a small object, it can be a big area of field like I have here. Basically, I wanted to get all of the drops from the front to all the drops in the back, and then we want to focus stack to make one composite image in Photoshop. So, neat little trick to actually edit all these at the same time. We're going to click the first image, click the last image, and make sure that we toggle between auto sync. So auto sync, basically anything that you do to this first picture is going to be done to any of those pictures. So if I turn exposure all the way down, you can look down in the bottom of the frame and you see all of them have changed. So minus 0.21 will change this all back. The benefits of auto sync is you don't have to do the edits on the first image, then copy, paste to all the other images. It's not that hard, it just saves you a little bit of time if each image is going to get the same application. I'll go ahead and hit the backslash to show you where we started. So this is the image pulled out of camera. It's a raw image, so it's a little flat. We sharpened it up a little bit. We added a little bit on the whites and the blacks, and do some process correction, lens calibration, chromatic aberration removal, so on and so forth. So how do we get these into Photoshop? Well, I am running Photoshop CC 2015. I'm also running Lightroom CC 2015. So I'm going to right click on all these photos as they are already selected. We're going to edit in, and we're going to open as layers in Photoshop. And we'll give this some time to open up. I'll go ahead and go to Photoshop and wait for this. It should not take too long. It's only about 7 files. And as we watch in the layers panel over here, we can see each image opening. There we go. Okay, we've got all the layers open. I did cut a little bit of the video out so you could not have to watch pixels being drawn. So what are we going to do from here? Well, they're all stacked and they're going in order as you open them from Lightroom. So we are going to go to Edit and Auto Blend Layers. Now we're not doing a panorama, so we're just going to stack images. The default is seamless tones of colors and content aware filled transparent areas. That's very important. So if you had an image that moved a little bit, it would fill it in for you. I had this on a tripod, so we should not have any of that. There we go, it's creating the composition. It's going to spit out our final image here in just 1 second. Now the final image is going to come out on top of the layers. So once we're finished with this, if you like what you see, then you can flatten the image and you can be done. But let me show you kind of in depth what's going on here. So each layer has basically been applied a mask, and it's done by focal area. So the first image, if I alt click on the eyeball, the first image, it took everything that was in focus and blended it out. So this is the only parts that was in focus that it blended in. So if I stack the next one, it adds a little bit more. It's like a puzzle, and it puts a little bit more into the puzzle each time you click. So each part of the white area, if I control click on that, it shows you what part of the area was actually in focus, or what it's actually applying as a mask. And so as I add each one, it fills in until we have the final layer. Control D to get rid of the ants. So that is our final product. We started out with a, if I go back to Lightroom, we started out with one image here, and you can't see the rest of it because I am focused at f1.8, so very shallow depth of field, and each image captures a little bit of detail, and you can stack them all. And you might say, well, what if I just used, f8 or f16? Well, even if you use f8 or f16 when you're this close to a subject, you still don't capture all the detail. And it's basically because of the hyperfocal distance, and I can explain that in a different video. But even the closer you are to a subject, the more fall off on the depth of field you have as far as the background goes. So if you are really close to the subject and the background is seemingly far away, then the background is still going to be out of focus. So even the blades of grass in the back here on this last image, if I had taken this at f16, I might have been able to focus as far as maybe this image, but I still would have had to do a stack. And so what I went ahead and did is I set my aperture to f1.8 just so I could do a multi-image blend and show you how to do that in Photoshop. If I go back, it's a very easy technique, and you can see here that we did blend all the images. There are a couple of spots where it did fill in, and it doesn't look amazing. I can tell that it's there, but this just gives you the general idea of what it does. If I had shot this at maybe f4, probably would have captured a little bit more for the camera to blend in on each image. But since I shot it at f1.8, I mean, it was literally blades of grass, and everything else fell off into the distance. So that's not the best example of doing it, but this image was kind of fun to shoot because of how much depth of field we can achieve by stacking all these images, and it's still fun to shoot at these shallow apertures. So I hope you learned something from that tip today, and we got a twofer today. So we did the Lightroom, we did the auto blend, we had our sync, so hold shift and you get the auto sync function, and then we learned how to do the Photoshop stacking just by highlighting all the layers, going into edit, and we did the auto blend layers.